My wife told me she was moving in with her ex for 6 months to help him recover from surgery. She thought I'd be the supportive husband. Instead, I called a ruthless attorney and changed the locks before her first night there even ended. It happened over pancakes on a Sunday morning. Sloan set down her fork, looked me in the eye, and said, "Vance needs me, Silas. He's having massive spinal surgery and has no one. It's just 6 months. I'm doing a good deed." I sat there, stunned. Vance Holloway, the ex-boyfriend she dated for 4 years in grad school, the washed-up athlete turned photographer she hadn't mentioned in years. She framed it as a medical emergency, a clinical act of mercy. She told me if I disagreed, I was controlling and heartless. But I'm a project manager. I look at data, not emotions, and the data didn't add up. Why did he need my wife? Why for 6 months? Why didn't she ask me first? Most guys would have screamed, thrown plates, made a scene. I didn't. I gave her hand a squeeze, looked into her eyes, and said, "If this is important to you, I'll try to understand." She smiled, actually smiled, relieved I was being reasonable. She packed her bags that afternoon, kissed me goodbye, said she'd text me when she got to Vance's place. The moment her car turned a corner, I stopped being the nice guy. I met my attorney, Patricia Davidson, within 2 hours. We didn't just file for divorce. We went for a surgical strike. First, I froze our joint accounts, all $80,000, including the inheritance my father left me that I'd stupidly deposited into our joint savings. Second, insurance. If Sloan wanted to be a caregiver for another man, she could do it without being on my premium. I removed her coverage that afternoon, effective immediately. Third, the locks. I called a locksmith, had every lock in our apartment changed by 9 p.m. that night. I'd abandoned our home in her heart. I just made it official. 3 days later, I showed up at Vance's house, not to fight, to deliver the truth. Sloan, opening the door, surprised. "Silas, what are you doing here? I told you Vance needs rest. You can't just show up." "He's not the only one getting a fresh start, Sloan." The process server steps forward, hands her the envelope. Sloan, opening it, face going pale. "A divorce? Are you serious? He's sick. How can you be so cruel?" Silas, calmly. "The joint accounts are frozen, Sloan. All of them, and I've reclaimed my father's inheritance. Since you're so dedicated to his recovery, I figured you wouldn't mind living on his budget from now on." Sloan, "You can't do this. That's our money." Was, past tense. You made your choice. Now live with it.
The next few weeks were a siege. Sloan's texts became increasingly desperate. "I can't access any money. How am I supposed to buy groceries?" "Ask Vance." "My credit card was declined. I need money for gas." "Not my problem." "You're being cruel. I'm just helping someone who's injured." "Then let him help you pay rent." Her attorney called it unconscionable. Judge Margaret Torres called it harsh but legal. The accounts stayed frozen. The divorce moved forward, and I started rebuilding. 12 weeks later, we sat in front of Judge Torres for the settlement conference. "This is a mess. Mrs. Foster, you moved in with your ex-boyfriend without spousal consultation. That shows fundamental disregard for your marriage. Mr. Foster, you froze all assets without providing alternative support. That's harsh. But here's what's going to happen. Mr. Foster successfully argued his father's $80,000 inheritance should remain separate property, despite commingling. I agree. The remaining $60,000 gets split evenly. Mrs. Foster receives $30,000. Mr. Foster keeps his inheritance plus his share. This marriage is dissolved, effective immediately." Just like that, 3 years of marriage ended. Sloan looked at me one last time and asked, "Was it worth it, destroying everything we had?" I said, "You destroyed it. I just refused to go down with the ship." $110,000 hit my account 2 weeks later. I paid Patricia's legal fees, sent my brother Ryan $5,000 for letting me crash at his place, put $75,000 into savings, used the rest as down payment on a one-bedroom condo in Capitol Hill. I got promoted at work, senior analyst, $15K raise, started dating, joined a gym, bought new furniture. I rebuilt, and I thought that was the end of the story. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a call that changed everything. "This is Silas?" "Silas, you don't know me. My name is Petra Holloway. I'm Vance's ex-wife." "Okay, why are you calling me?" "Because you deserve the truth. Can you meet me tonight?" "There was no surgery, Silas." "What?" "Vance didn't have a slipped disc. He didn't have spinal surgery. He had a $50,000 gambling debt, sports betting, online poker. He was in deep with some very dangerous people." "Then why did Sloan—" "The 6-month recovery was a scam. Sloan was using your savings to pay off his bookies while they planned to run away together. Look at these dates. She transferred $12,000 to an account 3 days after moving in, another $8,000 2 weeks later. She wasn't a caregiver, she was a co-conspirator." "How do you know all this?" "Because Vance was still married to me when this started. We weren't married yet, just separated. I hired a private investigator when money started disappearing from our joint accounts. But here's what you really need to see. 6 weeks before she told you about Vance's surgery, she wasn't a caregiver, she was pregnant with his child. The medical crisis was cover for her morning sickness and her affair. She was sleeping in your bed, eating your food, spending your money, while carrying his baby and planning to disappear with him. Why are you telling me this? Because I know what it's like to be lied to by someone you trusted, and because you deserve to know you weren't wrong, you weren't cruel, you were right to protect yourself. I'm divorcing Vance. I'm suing both of them for fraud, and I wanted you to have this evidence in case you need it. Thank you."
Petra's lawsuit hit the courts 2 weeks later. The local news picked it up. Couple scams multiple partners in gambling debt scheme. Sloan's name was plastered across every news site in Seattle. Her face, older now, hardened, stared out from article after article. Sloan's LinkedIn profile changing to seeking opportunities, then disappearing entirely. She lost her freelance clients. No one wanted to work with the woman who defrauded her own husband to fund her lover's gambling addiction. Vance lost everything too. His photography business collapsed, sponsors dropped him, the gambling debts never went away, they just kept growing. Petra won her lawsuit. The judge awarded her $40,000 in damages, money Sloan and Vance didn't have and would probably never be able to pay. And me? I watched it all unfold from the safety of my new life, feeling something I hadn't felt since this nightmare began. Vindication. 2 years after the divorce, I was living a life I'd never imagined. New condo, new relationship. Jessica was a corporate attorney, smart, funny, honest, someone who actually communicated, someone who respected boundaries. We were walking through Volunteer Park when I saw her. Sloan. But not the Sloan I'd married. This woman looked 10 years older, thinner, hair streaked with gray she hadn't bothered to dye, wearing a cleaning service uniform. The double stroller explained everything. Twins, apparently. Or maybe she'd had another one. I didn't know. Didn't care. Their eyes met across the park. Sloan freezes. Silas stops walking. Jessica notices, looks at him questioningly. "Is that?" "Yeah, that's her." Sloan hesitates, then slowly pushes the stroller toward them. She stops a few feet away. "Silas?" "Sloan. I heard you're doing well. That's good." "I am. This is Jessica." Jessica, polite but cool. "Hi." Awkward silence. One of the babies starts fussing. Sloan rocks the stroller absently. "I wanted to, if I ever saw you again, I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I lost everything for a fantasy that was never real." "Vance?" Sloan, bitter laugh.
The gambling never stopped. The debts kept piling up. He took loans from worse and worse people. We had to move 3 times in 2 years. I'm working 2 jobs, cleaning during the day, bartending at night. He's barely around. When he is, he's angry all the time. She looks at Jessica, then back at Silas. You were right about all of it. I threw away something real for someone who was never going to change, and now I'm this. A close-up of Silas's face. No anger, no pity, just nothing. I hope things get better for you, Sloan. I really do. Do you? Or are you just being polite? I don't know. Maybe both. He takes Jessica's hand. Take care of yourself.
You okay? Yeah, I am actually. That must have been hard, seeing her like that. It was strange. 2 years ago, that woman broke my heart, made me question everything, made me feel like I was the problem for not being understanding enough. But today, I didn't feel anger, didn't feel hurt. I just felt relief. Relief that I got out when I did. Relief that I protected myself instead of being the nice guy who'd have gotten destroyed financially and emotionally. He looks at Jessica. Sloan wanted to help her ex. She thought she was being noble, selfless, but really she was just chasing a fantasy. And she was willing to destroy our marriage, drain our savings, and lie to everyone to do it. The surgery was fake. The recovery was fake. Even the person she thought she was helping, that was fake. Vance was never going to change. She just wanted him to. And you? I wanted something real. I wanted a partner who respected me enough to make big decisions together. Someone who saw our marriage as more important than nostalgia for an ex. He squeezes her hand. I found that. Here's what I learned. Being nice isn't the same as being good. Being understanding isn't the same as being smart. When someone shows you they're willing to prioritize someone else over you, believe them. When someone makes a massive decision that affects your life without consulting you, that's not a mistake. That's a choice. Sloan thought I'd be the supportive husband, the understanding partner, the guy who'd smile and wave as she moved in with her ex for just 6 months. Instead, I protected myself. I froze the accounts, filed for divorce, let her face the consequences of her choices. People called me cruel. Her friends said I was heartless. Even the judge said I was harsh. But 2 years later, I'm in a healthy relationship with someone who respects me. I have my inheritance, my condo, my career, my dignity. And Sloan? She's working 2 jobs to support 2 kids with a man who never stopped gambling, living paycheck to paycheck, trapped in the fantasy she chose over reality. He pauses, looks directly at the camera. The revenge wasn't the frozen accounts. It wasn't the divorce. It wasn't even exposing the truth. The real revenge was building something better while she drowned in the mess she created. That's what happens when you stay smart instead of staying nice. If you've ever felt like the bad guy for setting boundaries, if someone's ever made you feel guilty for protecting yourself, you're not alone. These stories matter. Your truth matters. The Truth Diary stories, where boundaries aren't betrayal and self-respect isn't selfish. I'll see you in the next one.